Metro numbering. You're standing at a Tokyo subway platform. You don't speak a word of Japanese, never been here. Yet, in about 30 seconds, you know exactly which train to take and which stop to exit. This shouldn't be possible. Most cities treat wayfinding like a puzzle only natives can solve. But Tokyo decided to solve wayfinding like it was solving math. Here's the system. Every subway line gets a letter. The Ginza line is G, Marunouchi is M, Hanzomon is Z, and then every station on that line gets numbered. Not named, numbered. G01, G02, G03, all the way down. They introduced this in 2004, and it's so elegant that you wonder why every other city on Earth hasn't copied it wholesale. Because here's what happens. Direction becomes automatic. On the Ginza line, the numbers only go up one direction. So if you're at G05 and need to get to G10, you know exactly which platform to walk to, without knowing a single Japanese character. Then platform signage tells you which platform to board. Platform 1 serves stations G01 through G11. Platform 2 handles G12 onward. Most people don't even notice they're being guided by pure logic instead of language. Almost no one is confused. Add to this, each line has its own jingle, a unique audio signature that plays when the train arrives. Someone who's visually impaired hears the jingle and knows exactly which train just pulled up. That's design thinking baked into the entire system. It's so obvious, so elegant that you stop seeing the work. And that's the first lesson Tokyo teaches. Real ingenuity hides itself. Let's see how Tokyo moves people next. Shinjuku Station. Shinjuku Station on a Monday morning. Peak commute. 3.6 million people are moving through this building. Imagine the entire population of Boston trying to get through a single subway station simultaneously. Then multiply it by 1.2. That's Shinjuku. To put it in perspective, the Gare du Nord in Paris, one of Europe's busiest transit hubs, handles about 600,000 passengers a day. Shinjuku is 6 times that, and it works. The station has 36 platforms, 200 exits, 12 different train lines. The whole thing is run by 5 different independent rail operators, all running on their own schedules, on their own lines, with their own fare systems. How? Again, you are guided by pure logic. I bet you can all figure out Shinjuku the same way, through numbers, colors, and icons. But what's invisible is the synchronization. When one line is running 2 minutes behind schedule, they delay the connected lines by 2 minutes. The system absorbs the lateness just like that. We will talk about that system later. Peak crowding is orchestrated. Platform design manages the flow. The true miracle is realizing that 3.6 million people move the station through every single day. But most people won't even think about how ingenious that is, and the next ingenuity extends beyond the station. Vending Logistics. You step off a train in rural Hokkaido, middle of nowhere, you're thirsty. A vending machine appears on the street corner. A block later, another one. Then 3 more. They're humming, they're lit, and they're all working. Japan has 1 vending machine for every 23 people. That's the highest density in the world, by a lot. On the surface, this looks like Japan's obsession with machines and convenience. Just cool, weird Japan doing cool, weird Japan things. But the reality is something else entirely. 3.9 million vending machines nationwide. That's a supply chain problem the size of a small country. Every machine needs to be stocked and maintained. Even in a rural area, every machine needs to work reliably where the nearest human employee is 40 minutes away. In most countries, that's impossible, but Japan solved that. The vending machine market reached $1.3 billion in 2024 and is projected to hit $1.9 billion by 2033 because the system works so well that it just keeps expanding. But here's the infrastructure secret: low crime. Because Japan has exceptionally low vandalism rates, Machines can exist everywhere without monitoring or constant replacement cycles. A vending machine in rural Hokkaido may sit undisturbed for years. Now compare that to a vending machine in Times Square. Let's not forget the contactless payment systems, Suica and Pasmo cards that also work on trains. You tap the same card at the station, on the train, and at the machine. The boundaries between systems disappear. Most countries see vending machines as novelties, but Tokyo sees them as distributed retail, solving a labor shortage while decentralizing commerce. So, the vending machine infrastructure is integrated into the whole railway system, which is a private business in Tokyo. Railway Economics, 1923. A lawyer named Tsurumatsu Toshimitsu looks at undeveloped land west of Tokyo and sees possibility. He founded a railway company, Odakyu Electric Railway. A century later, that company and a handful of others like it have done something remarkable. They not only built transit infrastructure, but also engineered the entire cities. Most countries think about railroads one way. You put rails down, trains run, people pay fares, you move on. Tokyo's private railways thought differently. They saw the land around stations as the actual product. The trains were just the delivery system. Here's how it worked. Private railway companies built lines on undeveloped land. Then, they acquired massive amounts of property around their stations. Then, they built department stores, supermarkets, residential complexes, and hotels on that land. The stations became hubs. The neighborhoods grew around them. Suddenly, a railway company was also a real estate developer, a retail operator, and a hospitality business. By 2022, Odakyu's real estate income accounted for 30% of their total revenue. The railways actually fund themselves through property development. Keio Corporation operates 6 lines plus multiple department stores and hotels. Tokyo Metro just went public in October 2024, raising $2.3 billion specifically so they could allocate more capital to real estate acquisition. The strategy is so proven that a public offering was justified almost entirely on buying more property. The result is the rail-integrated communities, dense, mixed-use neighborhoods where everything you need is within walking distance of a station. An Odakyu executive put it this way: just as ancient civilizations flourished in basins of big rivers, modern civilization develops alongside railways. Except Tokyo's railroads didn't build stations inside cities. They built cities around stations. That's ecosystem design at a scale most urban planners can't even conceive. But how Tokyo solved problems at the human scale? Skinny housing. In Tokyo's suburbs, some homes are 2.5 meters wide, 2.5 meters, narrower than a parking space and most hallways. Yet, inside one of these impossibly thin buildings, you'll find one of the most ingenious pieces of architecture you've ever seen. Japan's inheritance tax system forces property subdivision when ownership changes. You inherit a lot, you divide it again. Pretty soon, you've got parcels that are barely wider than a doorway. But Tokyo worked with these design challenges. Architects mastered these lots. The results became the signature Tokyo style: lofted rooms with high ceilings to maximize vertical space, floor-to-ceiling glass walls that visually expand a 2-meter width into something wider, floating staircases that take up almost no floor space, skylights that pierce through multiple floors, split-level floors that give separate functions without needing interior walls. The engineering gets specific, yet somehow, Tokyo architects do all of this while making the final product beautiful. You get neighborhoods with 20,000 people per square kilometer in low-rise buildings. That density would normally destroy human-scale walkability, force high-rises, create soulless urban canyons. But because the individual lots were small and architects refused to stack them vertically into towers, the neighborhoods stay intimate. You can walk down a street and see the sky. Neighborhoods have character. Communities form. These narrow houses win international architecture awards regularly. They're case studies in design schools worldwide, where constraint became the baseline condition. And from that constraint, Tokyo developed an architectural language that the rest of the world is still trying to understand. Every limitation Tokyo faced became fuel for innovation, and Tokyo turned them into art. But it can also quickly turn into a matter of survival, just like next. Earthquake Codes. September 1st, 1923. Great Kanto Earthquake. 7.9 magnitude. 140,000 dead. Yokohama flattened. Tokyo reduced to rubble. Soon after Tokyo started the rulebook the world now follows. Every major quake since has been another draft of that book. 55 years later, 1978. Miyagi earthquake. 7.2 magnitude. Less deadly this time, but reinforced concrete failed. Buildings collapsed. The code needed revision. 17 years after that, 1995. Kobe earthquake. 7.2 magnitude. Thousands of wooden buildings collapsed. The code again showed its gaps for wood structures. Then, 1995 became 2011. Tohoku earthquake. 9.0 magnitude. The biggest earthquake Japan had recorded in modern history. Tokyo's century of revisions held perfectly. Tokyo Sky Tree, 634 meters tall, stood unscathed. Across the city, buildings bent, absorbed energy, and stood. The system worked. How they did it? I'm glad you asked. It was done through 3 modern systems. Shin-Taishin, enhanced structure with flexible materials that disperse energy rather than resist it. Seishin, dampers filled with silicone oil that transfer vibrations to liquid instead of concrete. Menshin, base isolation where the entire building floats on flexible pads and sways independently from the ground. The philosophy evolved from build stronger to build something that dances. Japan faces over 1,500 earthquakes every year. Each one is data, each tremor a test. Continuous improvement has become a survival instinct. When a 7.5 quake hit Noto in 2024, only 110 people died. Compare that to the 2023 Turkey earthquake, 7.8 magnitude, 50,700 deaths. Tokyo learned from catastrophe and turned it into wisdom, so they solved for the shaking earth. But what about the water falling from the sky? Flood Cathedral. Beneath Tokyo, there's a cathedral you'll never see, yet it's one of the most beautiful things humanity has ever constructed. Most people don't know it exists. Tokyo sits on the Kanto alluvial plain. That's a river delta. Multiple rivers, Nakagawa, Ayase, Arakawa, Edogawa, all converge and overflow during typhoon season. Traditional drainage systems can't handle it. Between 2015 and 2024, extreme rainfall events increased by 50% compared to the 30-year average before that. Tokyo floods constantly, and surface solutions won't work. The city's too dense. You can't just build bigger levees or buy more land for reservoirs. So in 1992, Tokyo made a choice: build underground. The metropolitan area outer underground discharge channel, known as GCANs, opened in 2006. 5 cylindrical silos, 65 meters tall, 32 meters in diameter, each one big enough to park a space shuttle inside. They're connected by 6.3 kilometers of tunnels, 50 meters beneath the surface, 10 meters in diameter. The main pressurized tank measures 177 meters long, 78 meters wide, 25.4 meters tall. 59 pillars, each weighing 500 tons, support the ceiling and break up the force of incoming water. 76 pumps work together. 4 turbines, each 14,000 horsepower, pump water out at 200 cubic meters per second. That's an Olympic swimming pool drained in 12 seconds. August 2019, Typhoon Hagibis hit. GCANs captured 490,000 cubic meters of water and lowered the water level downstream by 1.5 meters. Estimates suggest the system prevents around $430 million in annual property damage. But here's what makes it ingenious. It's hidden. Most countries solve flooding with visible infrastructure: levees, dams, wider channels. Well, Tokyo chose differently. The world's largest flood control system, which cost $3 billion and 14 years to build. Tour Gcans, if you could. It is open to visitors, and you will be hit by the scale. Feels like underground temples. Train efficiency. May 2018. West Japan Railways issues an official apology. Why? A train departed the station 25 seconds early. Not late, early. And the railway company felt compelled to apologize for it. That single moment says everything about how Tokyo thinks. Most cities consider 5 minutes of wiggle room acceptable. Tokyo's standard is plus or minus 30 seconds, and they actually hit it. Across the entire network, the average delay is less than 1 minute a year. Now tell me you are not amazed. Think about what that means. It means when you schedule a meeting, you can actually arrive when you said you'd arrive. It means millions of people can coordinate their lives because the system respects their time so precisely that time itself becomes predictable. It's all about respect. Time wasting equals disrespecting millions. That's the philosophy. Then technology follows the philosophy. Since 2021, Tokyo Metro and Mitsubishi Electric have introduced synchronous reluctance motors. Real-time monitoring tracks every train. Frequency-based signaling keeps departures every 2 to 3 minutes, and if one line runs 2 minutes late, the connecting lines delay by 2 minutes, which means the system absorbs lateness instead of spreading it. That's the technology and system they built. 6.5 million people ride daily, and the whole system moves like clockwork. In New York subway, one delayed train can ruin the morning. In Tokyo, the choreography holds. That apology for 25 seconds early is a kind of belief, showing a promise that your time matters, your plans matter, and that even 25 seconds of disruption is worth their regret. For them, precision means respect for millions. It's more than just perfection. Tokyo didn't just build a city, it built a philosophy made into infrastructure. Now you know why it's so absurdly well designed. Stick around to see what your city could learn, if it wanted to.